Do you remember way back when we started Virtua, Francis?
I do.
We didn't even do any marketing.
I feel like I
The one thing that
always. Oh no, sorry. Go. I was just gonna say I feel like I always think about where we are versus where we started. So I know where you're going. Please continue.
yeah. No. I remember we didn't do any marketing.
Mm.
So we're just sort of started with all word of mouth, but we did know that we needed a website, right?
And Facebook.
We did, yeah, and Facebook. I think those are the two things that we did just to have some presence online. We knew that like clients might look for us. And do you remember those nights when we're trying to figure out how to use WordPress and trying to just write copy? There was no AI back then.
There was
So
no
it
AI.
all us.
Everything was no. I remember dreading every paragraph that started with lorem ipsum. Right now, because everything was a place. I feel like Rome's laughing. I feel like throughout your career you had to deal with a lot of lorem ipsums, but yeah, that is the truth. When we I feel like everybody seems to think, oh, we'll put up a website. And I feel like we had a few clients who've been
Mm.
doing that. Oh, just put up a website and say, okay, we need the copy. And like, oh, yeah, just copy. Honestly the hardest. It's honestly the
Just
hardest thing. Trying to come up with 8 pages of copy before.
yeah, and I think and, since we didn't know a lot about marketing and a lot of marketing concepts, it was just that we didn't even think about the audience or how we should be writing it. Because you and I, well, you write more than I do. I think around that time. Now I write a lot, but that time you write a lot more than I do,
I
and we
was
didn't even
traumatized and
think about
never
target
wrote again.
markets. But yeah, and now in like now it's like what Virtua is doing. It's so far from where we started, and I think it's all because of Rome. Well,
Yes.
actually, we did have a marketing team before Rome, and that's all where it started. But it's also very different now with Rome.
It's because it was a different approach we had. Of course, marketing has
Mm,
different disciplines, right? But anyway, wait,
yes.
before we even continue, I wanted to like say hi to Rome. I maybe give us your quick piece. What was your I guess it turned the question back to Rome instead. What was your uh experience when you started with virtual? Was it a nightmare? Was it like, what am I doing here?
Are you sure you want to ask that question,
I
Francis?
know, but I should.
But maybe let's, you know what? So you were in the safe side. What do you think about like how we started with marketing or how you picked up the marketing strategy for virtual when you joined?
Yeah, when I joined Virtua, there wasn't a lot of things going on. We went back to the basics basically. I started,
Mm-hmm.
evaluating everything first from the ground up, see what we're doing, see what's currently working, and then doubling down on that and exploring other channels, other I would say other means to do marketing. So when I joined,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of things to figure out, a lot of people to train, to get used to the way marketing actually works, the processes,
Mm-hmm.
the standards. So everything has to be built from scratch, and I'm pretty used to that. That's my I would say my expertise. Building from the ground up. But it's been a very exciting experience for me to build this team, build the marketing strategy of Virtua, and see it really how it grows from there. So yeah.
Mm. Okay, I mean, thank you for saying that. We're excited to have you on board. At the back of my head, I was like, is she just saying that she's excited for us because she's talking to the CEOs? But no, knowing Rome, I don't think so. Because we did like grow a lot since
Yeah.
then, right? But Rome, I mean, when we started, that's all we knew, right? Like all we knew was that we needed a website, we needed socials and things like that. But let's go back. And you said going back to basics, right? Let's go back to basics. Why do you think is marketing so essential for a company that is trying to scale?
You see, marketing directly drives revenue. We all know that. A
Hmm.
business cannot
Yeah.
grow if there are no new customers coming in. And marketing
Hmm.
generates that demand, that nurturing of leads and converting them into paying clients. So when
Hmm.
revenue comes in, when they come in, you also have to make sure there is retention within your client base, and that's also a marketing job. Building relationships with
Okay.
them through engagement, education, and personalized experience with your brand. In the case of Virtua, we have to make sure that we also take time to get to know the client, and see where we
Hmm.
can help them further more than what we are already doing. So, yeah, marketing directly drives revenue and growth and scaling in businesses, I would say.
But Rome, have you experienced in your career, before we go on picking your brain about the expertise? Have you ever experienced in your
Hmm.
life where marketing was seen as, so I know you said it drives revenue, but I think the traditional thinking is that marketing is cost. So,
Yeah,
have you,
it's an
yeah,
expense.
have you ever experienced where marketing was like, it's needed, but it's hard to push because people are saying that, oh, but it's added cost and we can do something else. Have you ever had that kind of experience?
Definitely, definitely. I've had a lot of experience with business owners saying, "Oh, it costs a lot. Why does it cost this much?" And with that, I always say, "Well, you'll see when down the line, you'll see how it's adding value to your business compared to the cost that you're going to spend and the cost that will come in, or the revenue that will come into your business. It kind of cancels it out, right? So it's you don't need to live you don't have to love marketing basically, but you have to learn to live with it. You have to learn that it is an
Oh my,
investment rather than an expense to the company or to
I
the
love
business.
that.
I love that.
I
I think I understand what the
Yeah.
conventional wisdom is, right? Because if it's sales, if it's sales, you make a call, somebody says yes, the revenue is instant.
I think for sales, the action is so close to when you're getting the revenue, right? Like
Yes.
you do an action, you do the cold call. Once you close it, you know that there's revenue coming in.
Yes.
As opposed to or compared to marketing, when it's sometimes more of a
It's
long
a long game.
term or a long
Yeah.
game. Yeah, it is. So I think so. We talked about this. Like, marketing is most of the time seen as an expense. So, what do you think, Rome? What do you think is the mindset that a business owner should have when it comes to marketing?
I've seen many business owners adopt this, set it and forget it kind of mindset, where they assume that
Mm.
just because one thing worked at one time or at one point, it will continue working at all times. Pretty soon they discover that the business grows, their audiences change, their competitors shift, there are new technologies that emerge. So, what worked before might not work again. So it
Mm-hmm.
might stop producing results. So for me, instead of investing in what worked on the short term, business owners should focus
Hmm.
on sustainable growth. This means constantly testing,
Okay.
optimizing, and being willing to pivot when necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So in marketing, you really need to roll with the punches, I should say, in scaling marketing efforts. Because that's the only way you can stand out in a very, very crowded marketplace where everyone is doing all sorts of marketing tactics. So you really have to,
Yeah.
pivot and
Right.
change and see what works,
Right.
and, try to improve on that. So yeah, I would say that's the mindset.